Nobody, and I mean nobody, was ready for what Shedeur Sanders pulled off against the Panthers. Not the analysts, not the Browns fan base, not the Carolina defense, and especially not the people who still had him mentally filed under QB4, likely practice squad. But here we are. A preseason game, middle of August, normally the kind of sleepy affair where commentators talk more about who's fighting for a backup guard spot than who's lighting up the field.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
But suddenly, boom. In walks Shedeur Sanders, 5th-round pick, not even supposed to sniff the starting lineup, and proceeds to drop 2 touchdowns like it's just another day in Boulder. The Browns' depth chart may say QB4, but after last night, it might be time to bust out the label maker. Let's set the scene. It's the second half. The Panthers are doing their usual preseason rotation, and Shedeur trots out like he's not a rookie making his first NFL appearance. No nerves. No rushed reads. Just this weird, borderline unsettling calm. The kind of energy you see from QBs who've been doing this for a decade. You'd think he was playing in his backyard. And then it starts. The first drive? Clean. Crisp. Poised. He's reading the field like he's flipping through a magazine. Short passes. Smart decisions. Nothing too flashy. And then, suddenly, pressure. Pocket collapses. He rolls out. Everyone's expecting a chuck it and hope situation. Instead, laser. Right into the hands of his receiver. First down. Okay. That got some attention. But it's preseason. One throw? Not enough to make headlines. But then comes the drive. You know the one. That 68-yard clinic where Shedeur basically took the Browns' offense for a joyride down the field. And when he capped it off with a chef's kiss, touchdown pass, tight window, red zone, defender practically on the receiver's hip. That's when things shifted. That's when the camera cut to Herm in the post-game show, eyebrows raised, voice slightly louder than usual, going. That was pretty impressive. Now, if you know Herm, you know he doesn't hand out compliments like candy. He's seen decades of tape. He's coached through every style of quarterback you can imagine. For him to look genuinely surprised, you know something special just happened. And it was special. Because it wasn't just the stats, though let's be real, 14 of 23 for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns is nothing to sneeze at. It was how Shedeur did it. Under pressure. In rhythm. With confidence. This wasn't rookie plays well in garbage time. This was rookie walks in like he owns the place and casually rewrites the narrative. And remember, this kid wasn't even supposed to be in the conversation. When training camp started, the Browns' QB room was already crowded. Dillon Gabriel was still scrapping for media relevance. Veterans were holding on to their clipboard empires. Sanders? He was the shiny new toy, but not necessarily one expected to stay out of the box. The assumption was that Shedeur might get a look in the 3rd or 4th preseason game, maybe take a few reps, make a couple decent throws, and spend the season learning from the sideline. But what happened last night wasn't just a spark, it was a flare gun. One that fired straight into the sky and lit up the Browns' entire quarterback depth chart. Because now, there are questions. Real ones. Like, what happens if Sanders keeps doing this? What happens if this one preseason performance wasn't a fluke, but a preview? Let's talk composure. Rookie quarterbacks, especially late round ones, do not look like this in their first NFL action. They're supposed to be jittery. Eyes too wide. Feet too fast. But Shedeur? Man looked like he was waiting for a dinner reservation. Cool. Collected. Unbothered. And don't get it twisted. This wasn't all clean pockets and easy reads. Carolina brought pressure. They hit him. They flush him out. And every time, he responded like he'd seen it 100 times before. Moved when he had to. Slid when he needed to. Kept his eyes downfield. Made the right call. One throw in the 3rd quarter was downright surgical. Defender screaming off the edge. Pocket disintegrating. Shedeur steps up, shifts left, resets his feet mid-move, and threads a rope between two defenders for a 15-yard gain. That's a grown man throw. That's a starter-level read. But what might have been most impressive? The way he talked about it afterward. Most rookies would be giddy, posting clips, reposting highlights, talking about just trusting the process, while smiling like they just won the lottery. Not Shedeur. When asked about the performance, he said flat out, it was subpar. We left plays on the field. Come again? Subpar? That tells you everything you need to know. Because this isn't a guy chasing clout. This is a guy chasing perfection. He's not satisfied with a flashy night in August. He wants to own Sundays. He wants to build a legacy, not a moment. And of course, we can't talk about Shedeur without mentioning the elephant in the room. His last name. Sanders. As in Dion. As in Coach Prime. As in NFL royalty. It's easy to write Shedeur off as just the son of a legend. And plenty of people did. Especially after the flashy college campaigns, the commercials, the merch drops. But on that field, last night, that wasn't legacy talk. That was performance. That was a player stepping out of his father's shadow and into his own spotlight. And you better believe Coach Prime was watching. He posted right after the game, just a short, proud message. No bragging. No flex. Just that signature tone of a dad who's been telling you all along. Told y'all he had it. And honestly, he did. Now the Browns have a problem. A good problem, but a problem nonetheless. Because Cleveland has never exactly been a beacon of quarterback consistency. For years, it's been a carousel of underwhelming veterans, flameouts, and maybe next year's. Fans are starving for someone to believe in. And after last night, you can feel it. That tiny spark of hope. Is Shedeur Sanders the guy? Way too early to say. But what isn't too early to say is this. The Browns suddenly have a real competition on their hands. Not just for the backup spot. Not just for preseason drama. For the future. And if Shedeur keeps stringing together performances like this, that depth chart's going to get real messy, real fast. Because at the end of the day, NFL teams don't care about where you were drafted. They care about production, about poise, about how you perform when the lights are on and the defense wants blood. And Shedeur Sanders? He walked into his first NFL game, looked that pressure dead in the eye, and said, let's ball. 2 touchdowns later, we're all paying attention. Maybe Herm Edwards said it best. Not the pretty impressive part, though yes, that was the headline. It was what he said right after. He doesn't look like a rookie. That's a young man who's already been coached how to be a pro. And he has been, not just by his father, but by the moment, by the expectations, by the weight of walking into a league where the name on your jersey carries both a spotlight and a target. But Shedeur, he handled it, all of it. And the rest of the league? They just got put on notice. Now let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is one preseason game. We've all seen breakout moments fizzle under the weight of real, regular season pressure. A hot start in August doesn't guarantee anything in September, let alone January. But let's be honest with ourselves. What Shedeur Sanders did against the Panthers didn't just feel like a highlight. It felt like a shift. You could feel it ripple through the Browns organization. That buzz. That wait, what if moment. And if you followed this franchise for longer than 5 minutes, you know that kind of buzz doesn't come around often. Cleveland hasn't exactly been spoiled when it comes to quarterback magic. It's been years, decades even, of false starts, draft busts, and fragile hope. The kind of hope that breaks easily and lingers like an old bruise. But Shedeur? He didn't just inject hope. He made it look cool. Let's rewind for a second. Back to training camp. When Shedeur Sanders showed up with cameras in tow and a gold chain peeking out from under his practice jersey, people rolled their eyes. Here we go. Another flashy college QB. Another legacy kid trying to ride dad's coattails. The narrative was locked in before he even took a snap. And to be fair, he didn't exactly wow anyone right away. He was buried on the depth chart. QB4. Just another camp body. The kind of player who fills a helmet for a few weeks and quietly disappears by cut day. But what we didn't see, what wasn't in the headlines, was the grind. Early mornings. Late nights. Quiet leadership. He wasn't just coasting on his name. He was chipping away at every assumption stacked against him. He studied. He listened. He learned. And most importantly, he waited. So when his number was finally called, when the lights hit and the Panthers lined up across from him, he didn't flinch. He owned the moment. That kind of composure isn't normal. Not for a rookie. Not in your first NFL snaps. But Shedeur didn't just play like he belonged. He played like he'd been there before. And let's talk about those touchdowns. The first, a textbook slant, perfectly timed. Clean release, decisive throw, hit his man in stride. Boom, touchdown. But it wasn't just the throw. It was the tempo, the confidence. The way he commanded the huddle, moved through his progressions, and executed the play like he was walking through a drill he'd done 1,000 times. It was veteran stuff. The second touchdown? Pure improvisation. Pocket breaks down, he scrambles out, keeps his eyes upfield, and threads the ball into a tight window while rolling to his left. That's a high-difficulty throw. That's not just instincts, that's football IQ. And you could feel the crowd wake up. People started leaning forward. Even the Panthers broadcast team couldn't hide it. They weren't expecting this. Nobody was. Except maybe Shedeur. Because here's the twist. As much as this felt like a breakout moment for us, it didn't feel like a surprise to him. Not even a little. You watch him on the sidelines after each score. No wild celebrations. No chest pounding. Just a subtle nod, a calm expression, and then back to business. That same demeanor he showed during interviews at Colorado. The same quiet confidence that his fathers always talked about. And make no mistake, Coach Prime was watching, too. The second Shedeur's post-game interview aired, there was a tweet. Short, proud, and unmistakably Prime. He's always been built different. Now y'all see it. Hashtag, trust the work. It wasn't gloating. It wasn't I told you so. It was a father watching the world finally catch up to something he's known for years. And it wasn't just Deion Sanders taking notice. By the end of the night, Herm Edwards wasn't the only analyst talking. ESPN's ticker couldn't stop mentioning it. The Browns' official social media was suddenly full of Sanders content. Clips, stats, behind-the-scenes photos. And fans flooded the comments. QB for no more. This kid might be him. We need to talk about Shedeur as QB1. Which brings us to the awkward part, the other quarterbacks. Because while Shedeur was lighting it up, the rest of the Browns' QB room looked fine. Not bad. Not awful. But fine. The kind of play that doesn't spark excitement or debate. It just sort of floats by. In a league obsessed with upside and star power, fine is dangerous. Fine is forgettable. And you best believe that coaching staff felt the pressure shift. Kevin Stefanski, ever the poker face, gave a very measured response after the game. Praised Shedeur's poise. Mentioned his leadership. Said he operated the offense well. But you could tell. The gears were turning. Because what do you do with a kid who was supposed to be a long-term project and suddenly looks like your most exciting option? You can't just send him back to the bench and pretend it didn't happen. Not now. Not after that. The media knows it. The fans know it. And deep down, the locker room definitely knows it. Reports are already bubbling up. Guys are gravitating toward him. Talking about his energy, his leadership, his humility. It's not just that Shedeur can play. It's that guys want to play with him. That kind of intangible, you can't coach it. And yes, it's still early. Yes, it's preseason. But momentum doesn't care about timing. It's real. It's building. And it's headed straight for the heart of the Browns' quarterback competition. So now the question isn't just, was that impressive? It's what now? Does Shedeur get more reps in the next preseason game? Does he leapfrog the depth chart? Do the Browns seriously consider starting a fifth-round rookie week 1? Maybe not. Maybe that's still a stretch. But if you're the Browns, if you've been desperate for a face of the franchise, for a signal caller with both talent and charisma, how do you ignore this? How do you ignore him? Because whether he's ready or not, the spotlight is coming. The pressure is coming. The hype train is boarding fast. And if last night was any indication, Shedeur Sanders isn't just on it, he's driving it. So buckle up, Cleveland. Your quarterback room just got a whole lot more interesting. The morning after Shedeur Sanders' preseason showcase, the headlines practically wrote themselves. QB controversy brewing in Cleveland. Sanders stuns in preseason debut. The rookie with the veteran swagger. And while the internet did what the internet does, overreact, overanalyze, and overhype, something very real had shifted in Berea. The Browns' facility didn't feel the same. Because someone had gone from a name on a depth chart to a real, breathing, locker-room shifting presence. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just a promising young quarterback anymore. He was the conversation. It started before sunrise. Coaches reviewing film. Position groups meeting in small rooms. Everyone breaking down tape like they were watching a playoff game, not a mid-August exhibition. And there he was, frame after frame, Shedeur making tight window throws, escaping pressure, converting third downs, commanding the huddle like he'd been drafted in the first round, not the fifth. The silence in the film room when Shedeur completed that second touchdown pass? Tense. The kind of silence where nobody wants to say it, but everyone knows what they're thinking. He's got it. But what is it exactly? It's not just about stats. Plenty of rookies have put up decent numbers in the preseason and vanished by week 3. No, it is harder to define. It's body language, control, presence, that ability to step onto a field full of men twice your size, most with 5 times your experience, and somehow make them lean in to hear you. Shedeur had it, and people noticed. Even in the locker room, where politics and pecking orders rule, vets were starting to take interest. Guys who hadn't said more than a passing "what's up" during camp were now dapping him up, asking about plays, nodding along when he spoke. It wasn't dramatic, just subtle shifts. Small moments that add up to something much bigger. And maybe that's the craziest part. None of this was supposed to happen this fast. The Browns had a plan. Bring Shedeur along slowly. Let him sit, watch, learn. Give him a redshirt season behind established names, and let the NFL pace catch up to him. But now, that plan's hanging by a thread, unraveling with every accurate pass and every confident post-game quote. The pressure is real, not just on Shedeur, but on everyone. Dillon Gabriel? The pressure's suffocating. You don't think he noticed when his social media mentions switched from "can't wait to see Dillon cook this preseason" to "is Shedeur QB1 now"? You don't think he heard the whispers after practice? Saw the reposts of Shedeur's highlight reels? Of course he did. One day you're designing motivational hoodies. The next you're watching a rookie leapfrog you in public opinion after a single night. Dillon's situation just went from complicated to desperate. And if you want to talk complicated, let's talk about Stefanski. The Browns head coach suddenly finds himself in a classic no-win scenario. If he leans into the Shedeur hype, he risks undermining veterans and fueling a quarterback controversy. If he plays it safe and buries Shedeur behind experience, he risks suppressing a spark that might just be the fire this franchise has always needed. Welcome to the Cleveland quarterback carousel, now featuring an actual potential breakout star. Imagine that. And then there's the front office. You know they're scrambling. Group texts flying between execs, meetings called with the PR team. Someone in analytics triple-checking Shedeur's quarterback rating on every possible down and distance. Because if this kid turns out to be legit, like franchise QB legit, then the whole narrative changes. A 5th-round steal. A media darling. The son of a legend, making his own name. The brand opportunities alone are staggering. Suddenly the Browns aren't just a team fighting for relevance. They're the hottest headline in football. Let's not kid ourselves. This is the NFL. Talent matters, but story sells. And Shedeur Sanders is a walking, talking story. Built-in fan base. Name recognition. A personal brand that's already bigger than most rookies' entire marketing teams. And now, he's backing it all up on the field. But none of that matters if he can't do it again. And that's where things get interesting. Because this week, all eyes are on him. Practices aren't just practices anymore. Every throw, every decision, every slight wobble on a deep out, scrutinized, evaluated, compared. And here's the wild thing. He's still calm. Reporters noted it during the open portion of practice. While other rookies were flubbing handoffs and missing easy reads, Shedeur was sharp, focused, leading second-team reps like it was game day. Not flashy, not cocky, just steady. He's not playing like someone who's trying to prove something. He's playing like someone who knows he belongs and is just waiting for the rest of the league to catch up. And let's talk about the fans. Cleveland fans are famously loyal, but they're also famously impatient. They've had enough of developmental guys and system quarterbacks. They want juice. They want hope. They want someone they can believe in. And right now, that someone is Shedeur. You can feel the groundswell. Jersey mock-ups are already floating around. People asking when his merch drops. Local sports radio taking live calls with fans saying things like, "I know it's early, but man, he just feels different." And listen, we've heard that phrase a million times. Feels different. Every fan base says it about their rookie of the moment. But this time, it doesn't feel like delusion. It feels like recognition. Like the city of Cleveland saw something real on that field against Carolina. Not a fluke. Not a lucky night. A flash of something rare. Something the franchise has been chasing since Bernie Kosar. Since before most of these fans had iPhones. Since forever. And if you're Shedeur Sanders, what do you even do with all that? The weight, the pressure, the expectations building faster than a viral TikTok. How do you carry that? Well, if last night told us anything, it's that he's ready. Ready to handle the spotlight. Ready to compete. Ready to earn it. Because no matter how famous his last name is or how many cameras follow him around, Shedeur's always had something to prove. And now, for the first time in a long time, he has the stage and the audience. This week, the Browns prepare for their next preseason game. More reps, more tape, more pressure. And all anyone wants to know is, can he do it again? Can Shedeur Sanders walk into the stadium, feel the eyes, hear the whispers, see the doubters, and ball out? We don't know yet. That's the honest truth. But what we do know is this. After just one preseason game, Shedeur Sanders isn't just QB4 anymore. He's the main character. And for a city that's been waiting so long for someone to believe in, that's more than enough to get excited about. The story isn't over. Not even close. It's just beginning.